So going back to that then, could you afford to continue making payments to the ACLU and Children's Hospital?
No.
Okay. What, if any, intention do you have to fulfill your pledges and donations to these organizations?
I still fully intend to honor all of my pledges. I would love for him to stop suing me so I can.
What, if any, deadlines are there on your pledges and donations to the ACLU or the Children's Hospital?
There are none. They understand.
Okay. Now, let's go to Defendant's Exhibit 1458, which is already admitted. Now, I'm going to just direct your attention to paragraph 27, where it says, neither party has made false accusations for financial gain. There was never any intent of physical or emotional harm. Amber wishes the best for Johnny in the future. What, if any, significance did that have to you?
That was everything to me. That was the most important thing in the separation agreement between us, is that he acknowledged that I hadn't made a single false claim, that my allegations were not false. I thought that just because he signed his name to it, he'd honor it. I mean, he signed his name to it, and I thought it would mean something. Right. He acknowledges that I never did it. I mean, I never made a false claim, and I didn't do it for financial gain. And that's what I was being called at the time, a gold digger and a liar.
Okay. Thank you. We can take this down, Michelle, and I'm going to now take you to post-divorce and your career. Please describe for the jury how your career evolved after the divorce, which I think was in February 2017. I
had to fight really hard to keep my career. After I got my TRO, I lost opportunities. I got canceled from jobs. I got dropped from campaign I'd shot. I was told I was going to be dropped from...
Objection, Your Honor. Hearsay.
Sustaining objection.
I fought to keep my job in a movie the biggest movie opportunity I had to date.
Which was what?
It was Justice League with the option to become Aquaman. It later became Aquaman, but I had to fight really hard to stay even in Justice League because that was right around the time of the divorce.
Can you tell the jury what Justice League was and what your role was in that?
It is a superhero franchise, DC action film, and it introduced my character, and it provided the base for the Aquaman spinoff that followed it, but that was not a reality at the time of shooting Justice League.
All right. And then you were able to be an Aquaman, is that correct?
Yes, I kind of showed up to work months early and stayed really late to fight to keep the job. I managed to keep it. And managed slowly to kind of to gain through this kind of hard work and goodwill I was able to foster. I was able to keep and make other jobs, and eventually made a movie called Aquaman, and Aquaman was very successful. I think it was the most successful DC film by its release, and I was getting my career back, even though it was, it took a major hit when I got my restraining order against Johnny.
So let's talk about Aquaman for a moment. I think you said it was the highest grossing film of DC films, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. When did that come out?
December of 2018.
Okay. And what was your role in Aquaman?
I play Mia.
And was that a lead role?
Yes, it is one of the leading roles. It's the female lead opposite Jason Momoa's character of Aquaman.
Okay, so you were his mate?
You could say that, yes. I was his love interest, the female. I was a female lead of the movie.
Okay. So in December of 2018, as Aquaman's coming out, why did you agree to participate in the op-ed?
Well, because I believed in some of the causes that the op-ed was seeking to advance. There was a lot of attention and energy around gender-based issues, gender-based violence issues in general. I had just recently become an ambassador for the ACLU. I was proud of that ambassadorship, and I was looking forward to the opportunity to lend my voice to what I thought was a great cause, which is just a conversation around women's issues and gendered issues that I think the whole country was having at that time, you know, quite a political conversation and cultural conversation at the time, and I was happy to lend my voice if I could.
Who drafted the first draft of the op-ed?
The ACLU.
Did you initially want to include Mr. Depp by name or reference?
No.
What were you trying to accomplish by the op-ed?
I was trying to raise awareness around some of the issues that I just mentioned. There was some legislative reform, Title IX being one of them, and there was just a greater cultural conversation being had around gender issues, and I was happy to weigh in on what I saw as the unique phenomena that women and typically women experience in our culture when they come forward against somebody more powerful, when they speak up about gender-based violence. And I thought I could lend my voice to that conversation. I thought I had something to say about that.
Were you trying to boost your sales for Aquaman since it was coming out in that same time frame?
It doesn't work like that. I don't think any op-ed, a major motion picture or major franchise like that is not aided by the publication of an op-ed in the Washington Post. I'll put it that way. But the other way around can be said. You know, I was wanting to lend my name at that specific time to potentially advance the causes within the op-ed.
Because of your success as Mira with Aquaman?
Yeah, just the publicity of the movie and the success of the movie would hopefully, in best case scenario, only add and lend itself would lend attention to the issues that the op-ed aimed to address.
What did you do once the ACLU had your agreement to be the spokesperson for the op-ed, to put your name to it?
I sought the advice of my attorney.
And why did you do that?
Well, because I didn't want to get into any sort of legal issue. I didn't want to have any sort of legal problems for talking about what happens to women when they come forward and speak about these sorts of issues, especially when they come forward against someone more powerful than them. And that backlash, the retaliation that people face when they come forward is exactly what I was writing about. And I didn't want Johnny to retaliate against me and quite literally prove my point.
And so who was the counsel that you hired to review the op-ed?
His name was Eric George.
Where is he located?
Los Angeles, California.
How did you know Eric George?
Eric George is the attorney who represented me in a different litigation against the producers of London Fields, the movie I mentioned earlier about having a body double and sex scene that I didn't approve of.
What was your understanding of Eric George's experience and skills to be able to review that op-ed for you in the context of your concerns?
Objection, speculation.
I'm asking her understanding.
I'll sustain the objection. Next question.
Did you have knowledge of Eric George's abilities at that time?
I did. I thought he had an excellent reputation and would give me great advice.
Okay. And what, if any, what was your experience with him in representing you earlier?
I thought he was a fantastic attorney, very smart, and I trusted him.
Without going into the content of it, what, if any, of Eric George's advice did you follow in the context of the op-ed?
I took all of his advice. I made all the edits he suggested. I took all of his advice.
And what, if any, of Eric George's advice did you ignore?
None. I mean, he's my lawyer. I listened to him.
Okay. I'm going to ask you, if we can pull up, Michelle, Plaintiff's Exhibit 1. Now, this is the online version of the op-ed, and it has this title, Amber Heard, I spoke up against sexual violence and faced our culture's wrath. That has to change. What, if any, role did you play in this title?
None.
What, if any, role, to your knowledge, did the ACLU play in this title?
None to my knowledge.
Okay. Are these exact words anywhere in the article?
No.
Okay.
No, they're not.
When did you first become aware of this title being included in the online version of the op-ed?
I think in this litigation is the first time I realized that.
Okay. I'm going to now ask, Michelle, can you bring up Plaintiff's Exhibit 2? And this has also already been admitted into evidence, Your Honor.
Yes, ma'am.
And this is the paper version, if you will, of the Washington Post with your editorial. And if you go to the second page, this one has a title, A Transformative Moment for Women. What, if any, role did you play in that title?
I didn't.
Okay.
None.
Now, do you recall seeing this version, the newspaper version, at the time?
Yes, this is the version I saw. I'm very proud of it. I had it framed.
You had the newspaper version, not the online?
I did. I had the newspaper framed.
Okay. And now I'm going to ask you to turn to, and Michelle, can we pull up Plaintiff's Exhibit number 3? And do you recognize this document?
Yes.
Okay. Your Honor, I'm going to move to admit Plaintiff's Exhibit number 3 into evidence.
Any objection?
No objection.
All right, 3 in evidence. You can
If we can
publish.
publish it to the jury. Thank you. Now, is it fair to say this is a tweet?
Yes, it is.
And can you explain to the jury what a tweet is for those who are not as social media oriented?
A tweet is a posting on a social media network called Twitter.
Okay. Now, did you send this tweet?
I think so. I must have.
Okay. And what, if any, control did you have over whether the title given to the op-ed online was included in the tweet?
You don't have control when you're retweeting something. I mean, it's my experience that you don't control a title when you're retweeting something. You don't get a chance to re-editorialize someone else's title.
Okay. And at the time you sent this tweet, do you remember even noticing that title?
I do not. I don't think I even realized it.
Have you ever typed the words from that title?
No, I have not.
Now, I'm going to ask you, let's go back to number 2, Plaintiff's 2. And I'm going to ask you, what, if anything, in this op-ed was incorrect?
Nothing. Every word of it is true.
And I'm going to direct your attention specifically, and if we can blow this up just a touch, and move up just a touch, Michelle, if you can, so we get to then 2 years ago. Then 2 years ago, I became a public figure representing domestic abuse, and I felt the full force of our culture's wrath for women who speak out. Was this true or false?
It's true.
Okay. What, if anything, did you do about speaking up about domestic abuse 2 years earlier?
Well, I went and got a restraining order against my then husband and walked out to a sea of media and endured to that point 2 years of vitriol from the media and from Johnny Depp supporters in retaliation for having done so.
And I guess you really answered my next question, which is, and I felt the full force of our culture's wrath for women who speak out. Is that what you were referring to for that next?
Yes, because at the time, I thought it couldn't be worse. I obviously now, from where I sit today, know it gets a lot worse.
And then, Michelle, if we can move this up a little bit further. Well, actually, that's perfect, Michelle. Then I don't have to use my purple again. Then you said, I had the rare vantage point of seeing in real time how institutions protect men accused of abuse. Is this true or false?
True.
Okay, and explain to me what you meant by that and how that was true for you.
I got a restraining order. I had to prove to a judge that I needed one. I had a bruise on my face. I got a restraining order. I showed pictures. I had proof, and yet everyone, the media, the studios that both Johnny and I worked for, they were ready to support him. They made statements in support of him. They were ready to fire me.
Objection, Your
attempted
Honor.
to fire me.
Hearsay.
All right, I'll sustain the objection.
What, if anything, did you witness with respect to institutions?
Meaning the people that we work for, the institutions we work for, the studios we work for, decision makers in my industry, filmmakers and powerful people and decision makers within my industry whom I had not ever even met, who didn't know anything about what happened behind closed doors in the marriage of Johnny and I, were making comments about me, statements about me. I was dropped from campaigns. It was hard for me to work. I was harassed. I'm harassed on a daily basis, death threats, and just the fact that wasn't, there was no parity. The studio and these decision makers and such were so ready to support him and eager to
Objection, Your Honor. Hearsay.
I'll sustain the objection.
All right. So what, if any, ill will or bad intentions did you have or intend against Mr. Depp by assisting in writing, giving your name to this op-ed, and in publishing it?
None. It's not about Johnny. The only one who thought it was about Johnny is Johnny. It's about me. It's about what happened to me after Johnny. It's about what happened to me after I escaped my marriage. It was about me and my life and what I endured once I moved on and got a TRO and moved on with my life. It was about what happened to me after. The only one who made it about him, ironically, is Johnny.
I'm going to, we can take that down, Michelle. I'm going to turn to something about electronics and transparency. You've testified about, and we've seen photographs and audio recordings and text messages, emails, etc. What, if anything, have you done to cooperate in the authentication of all of these things?
Objection, Your Honor. May we approach?
Sure.